notification light on my phone was blinking when I walked out of the shower. 3 missed calls from my brother, then 1 from my mother. Then a text that just said, "Call me. Now." It's about Tyler. My stomach dropped before my brain caught up. I called my mother back first. She picked up on the first ring, which meant she'd been sitting there waiting. That alone told me something was wrong in a way I wasn't prepared for. "Sarah." Her voice was already doing the thing, that tight, controlled tone she used when she needed me to stay calm so she didn't have to. "There's been a situation with Tyler's account." I sat down on the edge of my bed, still holding a towel around me, water dripping onto the floor. What kind of situation? Marcus needed to borrow some money temporarily. He was going to put it back before Tyler even noticed. It was only supposed to be for 2 weeks, and then the timeline shifted and, "Mom." I said it quietly. "How much?" Silence. "Mom." "How much of Tyler's money did Marcus take?" "It wasn't taking, Sarah. It was borrowing. There's a difference. And before you spiral, you need to understand that Marcus is under enormous pressure right now. The contracting business has been slow. He has a family too. He made a mistake in judgment. But his intentions were." "How much?" she exhaled. 11,000. I didn't say anything. "Sarah, say something." I couldn't, because $11,000 wasn't just a number. It was 5 years of Tyler working weekends at the hardware store 2 towns over because they paid 50 cents more per hour than anywhere local. It was birthday money he'd never spent. It was the graduation gift from my grandmother before she passed, which she'd pressed into his hand in an envelope and said, "This is for your future, not for right now." It was the fund we'd labeled, together, him and me at the kitchen table with a notebook, as college underlined twice. $11,000. Gone. How did he even get into that account? My voice came out steadier than I felt, which surprised me. "Well?" Another pause. "Tyler gave him the login a few months ago when Marcus needed to verify something for a form. Tyler forgot to change the password afterward, and there it was. Not Marcus stole from your son. Not your brother committed fraud. Just Tyler forgot to change his password." The weight had already been quietly, efficiently shifted onto a 17-year-old boy who worked weekends and saved every dollar like it was irreplaceable. Because for us, it was. "Does Tyler know?" I asked. That's part of why I'm calling." My mother lowered her voice, as if someone might be listening. "We were hoping, before Tyler checks his account, or before anything gets out of hand, that you could just sit on this for a little while. Let Marcus get back on his feet. He just needs 60 days, maybe 90. He has a big contract coming through in the fall, and you want me to hide this from my son? We want to avoid blowing up the family over a temporary setback." I hung up. "I need you to understand something about my brother before I tell you the rest of this story. Marcus is 3 years older than me. Growing up, he was the one who had a presence. The kind of person who walked into a room and got noticed without trying. He was good at sports, good at talking, good at making our parents laugh at dinner. He was the kind of son they pointed to at family gatherings and said, 'This one's going places.' I was the other one. Not invisible, exactly, just useful. I was the one who remembered the appointments and made the calls and handled the insurance paperwork when our dad's back went out. I was the one who drove 3 hours to help our mother move furniture when Marcus was too slammed at work. I was the one who, at 22, took on extra shifts for 8 months so our parents could make it through a rough patch without touching their retirement, and who never once mentioned it afterward because mentioning it would have been making it about me. That's what we do in my family. The useful ones don't make things about themselves. When I was 26 and pregnant and alone, Tyler's father had made it very clear, very early, that fatherhood wasn't part of his plan. Marcus did not offer to help. He sent a card with a Visa gift card for $50 inside. My mother helped more, genuinely, and I was grateful. But Marcus showed up to Tyler's first birthday party for 45 minutes, ate 2 plates of food, accepted the praise for being a good uncle, and left to meet friends. Tyler knew his uncle the way most kids know a relative they see at holidays. Politely. At a distance. So when Tyler came to me at 12 years old and said he wanted to start saving for college himself, not because he doubted I'd help, but because he wanted to know he'd done something on his own, I sat across from him at our kitchen table and I felt something crack open in my chest. I helped him open a savings account. I matched every dollar he put in, dollar for dollar, up to a point. When he got his first job at 15, he split every paycheck, 60% to savings, 40% to himself. He never missed a deposit. Not once. By last spring, Tyler had just turned 17, and the balance in that account was a little over $14,000. Enough, combined with the financial aid package we've been building toward, to make a real dent in his first 2 years. He knew exactly what was in that account. He checked it on Sunday mornings, the way some people check sports scores. And my brother had taken $11,000 of it. I didn't tell Tyler that night. I know some people reading this will think that was wrong. Maybe it was, but Tyler had an AP chemistry exam the next morning, and he'd been studying for 3 weeks. And I had learned a long time ago that there are moments when you protect your child from the truth, not because you're going to hide it forever, but because you need 24 hours to figure out how to blow up a situation in a way that doesn't also blow up your kid. I spent that night on my laptop. The account Tyler had, the one Marcus had accessed, was a joint custodial account I'd set up for him when he was 12. Because he was still a minor when we opened it, my name was technically on it too. That meant I had full access to every transaction record, every login timestamp, every IP address associated with account activity. I had set up automatic transaction alerts when Tyler turned 15, not because I didn't trust him, but because I'm a bookkeeper by trade, and setting up financial alerts is the same to me as locking your front door. The alerts had been going to an email address I hadn't checked in months because they usually just said Tyler deposited $180, and I'd seen enough of those to stop reading them carefully. That night, I read every single one going back 14 months. The withdrawals started small. $200 in February, $350 in March, then they got bolder. $800 in April, $1,200 in May. And then, in 3 transactions over 6 days in late June, the rest. $11,040 total. All logged, all time-stamped, all originating from the same IP address, not Tyler's phone, not our home network. An address I ran through a reverse lookup tool that placed it in the neighborhood where Marcus lived with his wife and 2 kids. Every transaction had a digital fingerprint. I sat back in my chair and looked at the screen for a long time. Then I opened a new folder on my desktop and I started saving everything. My mother called again 2 days later. I let it go to voicemail. My brother called the day after that. I picked up, "Hey." His voice was casual, which was its own kind of answer. "Mom said she talked to you." "She did. Look, I know it's not ideal. I'm not proud of it, but I'm going to handle it. I just need a little runway." "Runway," I repeated. "Sarah." His voice shifted, dropped into the register he used when he wanted me to feel like I was being unreasonable. "You know how hard things have been. The housing market is slow. I've got overhead I can't cut without letting people go, and I've got 2 kids in. Tyler has 1 more year before he needs that money for college applications and deposits. And he'll have it. I'm not saying it's gone. I'm saying it's temporarily displaced. Temporarily displaced." I wrote those words down on a notepad in front of me. I don't know why. Maybe because I needed to see how they looked written out. I need 60 days, 90 at the outside. If I can just not make a thing of this, keep Tyler calm. Tell him there was a hold on the account or something? I don't know. You're creative, you'll figure out the wording. And there it was again. That same maneuver my mother had tried. Not a request, an assumption. An assumption that I would absorb this, manage it, protect everyone from the consequences of what Marcus had done, including Marcus from the consequences of what Marcus had done. Because that was my role. That was what I was for. I thought about Tyler checking his account on Sunday mornings. I thought about my grandmother pressing my envelope into his hands. I thought about 60% to savings, 40% to himself, never a missed deposit. "I'm not going to lie to my son," I said. A pause. "No one's asking you to lie. You just asked me to tell him there was a hold on the account. That's different." "It's not." His voice went flat. "Sarah, think about what you're doing. You want to blow up the whole family over a cash flow problem? You want Tyler to grow up thinking his uncle is some kind of criminal? Over a mistake? He stole $11,000 from a 17-year-old's college fund, Marcus. I borrowed without asking, without notice, without any agreement, from an account that wasn't yours. My name isn't on it. No, mine is. And I have every transaction logged." Silence. "I want the money back in the account by the end of the month," I said. "All of it. If it's back before Tyler notices, I'll let you handle telling him yourself. If it's not, I file a report. You would do that to your own family. I would do that for my son." He hung up. The end of the month came. The money did not. What came instead was a phone call from my mother on a Tuesday night, and this time she wasn't using the controlled voice. She was using the other one, the one that came out when she'd been crying, the one that made me feel 8 years old, no matter how old I actually was. "He told me what you said to him," she began. "Sarah, I am asking you, as your mother, to think about the bigger picture here. Marcus has a wife. He has children. If you do what you're threatening to do—" "I'm not threatening, Mom. I told him what I was going to do if the money wasn't back by the end of the month." "It's the end of the month." "A police report will destroy him. His contracting license, his reputation, his choices destroyed those things, not me. You're his sister. I'm Tyler's mother." She was quiet for a moment. "Do you know what your father and I sacrificed for you two? Do you know how many times we went without so that you could have what you needed? And now, when family needs family, when Marcus needed a co-signer on his business loan 4 years ago, I co-signed. When you needed someone to fly out and deal with the hospital billing after Dad's surgery, I took time off work and I flew out. When Marcus's truck broke down and he couldn't make payroll, I lent him $4,000 that I never saw again. I have been here, Mom. I have always been here. So then why? Because this time it wasn't my money, it was Tyler's." She made a sound I couldn't quite name. "If you do this," she said slowly, "don't expect us to be there when things get hard for you." I understood what she was saying. I'd understood it for years. The deal was never really about love. It was about maintenance. Stay quiet, absorb the damage, keep the image intact. And in return, you get to keep your seat at the table. I just finally decided I didn't want the seat. "Okay," I said. "I understand." And I filed the report the next morning. I want to be honest about what came next, because I have seen stories like this where the resolution gets wrapped up too cleanly, and that's not what happened. My mother did not speak to me for 3 weeks after I filed. My aunt called and said I was being vindictive. Marcus's wife sent me a message that I won't repeat in full, but the central argument was that I had always been jealous of Marcus, and that this was my way of finally getting what I wanted. 2 cousins unfollowed me on social media, which I only noticed because Tyler mentioned it. It was not a clean, satisfying implosion. It was slow, and it was ugly, and it required me to sit with the discomfort of being the person who'd broken the surface of something everyone had agreed, silently, to keep submerged. But here is what else happened. The detective assigned to the case was thorough. The IP logs, the timestamps, the transaction records, all of it was exactly as clean and clear as I'd hoped. There was no ambiguity. Marcus had accessed the account from his home network on 23 separate occasions over 14 months and had withdrawn a total of $11,040. Marcus hired a lawyer who spent 2 weeks trying to argue that the access had been consensual because Tyler had shared the login once, voluntarily, for a separate purpose. That argument lasted until the lawyer saw the documentation I'd compiled. The original purpose Tyler had shared it for, a bank verification form Marcus had asked for help with, which Tyler had texted him about, with the date and context clear, and the fact that every subsequent login had happened without Tyler's knowledge or consent. The lawyer had a conversation with Marcus that I was not present for. But I can infer what was said because shortly after, Marcus's lawyer contacted my lawyer, and the word they used was restitution. Full restitution, $11,040 plus interest. It arrived as a wire transfer on a Thursday afternoon in September. I was at my desk at work when the alert hit my email. I stared at the notification for a moment. Then I forwarded it to Tyler with no message. He texted back 20 seconds later. A single question mark. I called him. "The money's back," I said. "Wait, what?" "All of it. All of it. All of it. Plus a little extra." He was quiet for a second. "Mom, what happened?" And I told him the truth. Not everything. Not the parts that were uglier than he needed to know right then. Not the parts about his grandmother's ultimatum. Not the parts I was still processing myself. But the core of it, what Marcus had done, what I had done about it, what it had cost us, and what it had recovered. He didn't say anything for almost a full minute. Then, "You didn't tell me because of the chemistry exam." "Yes. That's kind of insane, Mom." "I know. But also very you. I know. Another pause. Are you okay? And that question, that one, from my 17-year-old son who had just found out his uncle had robbed him, that was the one that nearly undid me. Because it was so completely him. Not what happens now. Or what does this mean for the family? Or even I can't believe he did that. Just, are you okay? I'm getting there, I said. Good. I could hear him shifting, settling. Can I tell Grandma too? Don't, I said gently. Not yet. I'll handle that. There were legal consequences for Marcus beyond the restitution. Because he was a licensed contractor and the fraud involved financial accounts connected to a minor, the case had additional dimensions that his lawyer had not fully anticipated. He did not go to prison, but he received formal charges, a suspended sentence, and a fine. His contracting license was placed under review. He and his wife moved to a different city 8 months later. I don't know if that's justice. I'm not sure justice is ever exactly the shape you imagine it will be, but it was accountability. Real, documented, undeniable accountability. And for a family that had spent 20 years treating accountability as something that happened to other people, it was seismic. My mother and I began talking again, slowly, about 6 months after everything settled. The conversations are different now, shorter in some ways, more honest in others. She has never apologized directly, not in the clear, specific way I would have needed to feel something shift. But she has stopped asking me to absorb things I shouldn't have to absorb. And she told me, once, quietly on the phone, that what I did for Tyler was brave. That was enough. Not everything, but enough. Tyler was accepted to his first choice school this past spring. He's studying environmental science. He still checks his account on Sunday mornings, a habit I think he'll keep for the rest of his life. On the day we drove him to campus, just the two of us, his stuff in the back of my car, a playlist he'd made for the drive pulling through the speakers. I didn't say anything grand. I didn't make it into a moment. But somewhere on the highway, about an hour into the drive, he looked over at me from the passenger seat and said, "You know, you kind of changed my whole understanding of what it means to fight for something." I kept my eyes on the road. "You were already doing that," I said. Sunday mornings, 60-40, never a missed deposit. He smiled and turned back to the window. The playlist moved to the next song. We drove.